Alright, welcome back to One Piece Anime Review, episode 399. Yes, the very next episode will be episode 400, which will come out next week. Unlike last week, where I didn't chance to do this until I think it was Monday, I think it was. Today a review comes out, and who knows if it's going to be like that next weekend. So, in the case of this particular video, we are discussing the newest episode of the series, episode number, if I can get my thing up here. It is episode 1134. Episode 1134. Cruel Fate. Kuma's decision as a father. Yep. And we're also discussing new chapter of the manga. So, this episode covers chapter 1100 for the series. Yep, 1100. Which means we're exactly 53 chapters behind the manga. So, in this episode, we actually see you start off with Barcelona, aka Katsuru. He shows up at where Vegapunk's island is. Well, his this snow place, complains, oh, this place is cold compared to Punk Hazard. And then, of course, he sets up basically a transponder snail where it connects Vegapunk to Saint Saturn, one of the 5 elder idiots who run the world in the series, where mentions about the thing about the potential making soldiers. But Kuma, he apparently does agree with the idea, but Kuma needs to become a weapon for the government. He needs, so in exchange for helping your daughter, and of course the globe-based stuff, you're going to become a warlord, you're going to do the scientific stuff, and you're going to become a cyborg, and also you're going to lose your mind and free will. Which, of course, Vegapunk is aghast at this. It's like, you can't do... this is outrageous. And Saint Saturn is like, you are in no position to tell me that. You are just a Navy scientist. So, Kuma agrees, which is surprising to Vegapunk. He agrees to it, but doesn't mean he won't be able to see his daughter anymore. Go to the treatments, but he does make an agreement, make one request, that she be sent to the church in Sabaru, which is where she grew up, around people she knew, and Saint Saturn agrees that no problem. As long as basically as somebody supervisor, be perfectly fine. And so she goes through the process of with the whole thing, of course, sleeping on top of him, of course, with her own low blanket. You also meet Santamaru, which I believe chronologically this is his second ever appearance, because we did see a previous episode in this arc where we did establish how he first met, Katsuru, him train under him. Here you see him once again uncle, of course, and where he basically trains there. He plays with Bonnie reluctantly. Great little scene here. You see him eating food and have some beer. And then after all this process, he proceeds to go out and, publicly he's named a new warlord, replacing the one Ace took out, which I believe was actually mentioned in the Ace light novels. It is 2 light novels he had that he did fight a warlord. Don't know who this warlord was, because they never show him on screen. They mentioned him, but he was defeated by Ace. We do see Jinbei, of course. We basically get his reaction. We also see reactions from these fun people: Doflamingo, Crocodile, Gecko Moria, Boa Hancock making a brief cameo for her. In the case of Doflamingo, this was interesting because we just saw his face, him chatting. In the anime, we see him lift his head over his chair and seeing the actual picture and reading it. In the case of Hancock, we see her walking out of the throne room with, of course, our predecessor, the Granny, just right here, not going central. Crocodile, of course, is basically an Alabasta. There is a mention here also of Eliminus from the Rain ship, which is a tie into present day. Would tie into this is early consequence of the guy, which good on basically the anime for throwing it in, because I think in the case of Crocodile, he actually was not into seeing the manga. And guess who's also talking to him? Nico Robin. Yep, Nico Robin. This is presumably set after all that flashback stuff we saw during Water. I think in that Water, it was actually Annie's lobby. This is probably what would happen next, right after that. After they see all these warlords, eventually Bonnie, and of course, eventually Bonnie's able to go back to, of course, basically the church. I was happy to see her. But then we're introduced to Alpha, who is the sister of the character from CP0. She actually makes a debut here, and they set up a house really quickly out of nowhere, and basically he leaves, and is like, yeah, I can't see her again, but he does try her right here, of course, but we'll get more on that next episode. And by the way, the episode ends with him arriving, I kid you not, he arrives at the place where Luffy is growing up at this point. So this is presumably at least about a year or two prior to the start of the series at this point. Yeah, but overall, great episode. Can't wait for the next episode, which will air next week. But there will not be a chapter manga because once again we're taking a week off this thing. So, we're talking about chapter 1153, The Birth of Loki. The cover image is Ogre Chow Yamato's Golden Harvest, Soccer Peregrines, Volume 37, Damia Oringo, King Ejiro, and Boss Achio. Which, this is Yamato basically is reunited with her. So then we see a flashback, basically, where all thing with Harold, where he's like a really tall guy, and he's like very shy. He's like the king of anything where he's boring, and then we see this very tall woman, which of course basically he takes it with him. Like, how did I expect that? Are you insane? That the many games of humans? Harold. They saved my life washing ashore, and they gave me a job. They were kind of helping me make a living when I was fully healed. And what do you mean, tiny humans? Just because you're born huge and you're totally wrong, brutish, makes you better than humans? How can you be so arrogant and pathetic? That's what everyone thinks. Giants, barbaric, and brutish is Elbath. Born huge. And, well, they stop by a kingdom. Here's that sail. Go and help your ninnies. Yeah. And of course, basically, the key has to bow to a king. You see that king go back home. Then come to Elbap. We're not as barbaric as they say. I'm thinking about you too. King Heroes change. And then we have Elbap 105 years ago. So Kama's prime. So thank you, Harold. Yeah. So he rides, of course, with the girl, and then she, of course, gives birth to a boy. So this boy turns out to be Harrigan, one of Luffy's allies. And then we're introduced to a very beautiful giant. It's like, yeah, this looks like he wants this girl. This is your true Bethel, Harold. His blood is pure and ancient. She is worthy of being queen. Yep. So kind of like becomes the queen, kind of, despite the fact he has another wife. Guard, bring me jewels to go and true. First, I to my chamber. And then, of course, she gives birth to Loki, who has horns, and she's shocked at the fact he has horns. I'm like, his father had horns too. Yes, Harold had horns too, and because of the fact that he has horns, she rejects him, her own baby, that she just gave birth to. And she then proceeds to order her own child be thrown to the underworld. And of course, the child is bleeding, of course. And then she fell ill. Apparently, it was a child he killed his father when he was born. Something called Loki's curse. I'm like, wow, what a terrible mom she is. Like, you don't know if basically the prophecy was true at all. It's like, oh, because, well, here's the thing. Herodian didn't have horns. Loki did. His father had horns too, but I do like the fact we do see the first crown appearance of Herodian, which is great to see because he's a great character. I of course would love to know the reason why, because if you watch the dub, like, for some weird reason, he gets replaced. Yes. It was somebody else at first, and then it was Chris George. Actually, not Chris, it was Chris Guerrero. Yes, for some weird reason, they decided to do this with this character. Excuse me. So, by the way, in the case terms of the anime, so I'd say by the time that we come to the present day, I think Kuma must have been the warlord for a few years at that point. Okay, here we go, Herodian. Here again, I think that's the best theme. So, first it was Randy Abinger, and then basically he was from 630 and 658, which basically was his debut appearance. And then for some weird reason they switched him. Which, let's see. I mean, did the actor just apparently just all of a sudden die or something? Oh no, he's still pretty much alive. Well, I cannot find the reason why. Maybe if I ask Chris Guerrera, he might know. Who knows? Okay, so that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to comment, subscribe, notifications. Next up, case closed, and it's on 2 middle heroes after that. Okay, next video. Bye.